I have been absolutely loving these calls. I don't know about you, but they are just a wealth of knowledge. I know that we are Christmas Eve, and so I expected there to be kind of less people on here, but I'm glad that you showed up and you made it because these two women have an incredible, um, very valuable topic that they're going to teach us and share with us their top tips for. So we have Nicole and Ashley. I would love for you guys first to just kind of introduce yourself and tell us how you got started with coaching, and then we'll dive into the questions. If you guys have any questions, so we're talking about how to successfully market on social media to attract your ideal person. If you have any specific questions to this, as they're talking or before, please put them in the chat box so we can make sure and address them. I've got about 5 questions that I'm going to ask them. We'll go from there. So Nicole, we'll go ahead and kick off with you if you wouldn't mind just sharing a bit about your story and how you got started.
Sure. So I will tell more of my coaching story versus my challenger story, but I was first introduced to Beachbody in 2011 with the program P90X. So that program essentially changed everything for me. I was the yo-yo dieter. I struggled with my weight my entire life. My mom and I'm an only child. I grew up with just my mom in a single household. And so we ate a lot of, not that isn't the reason we ate a lot of junk, but we ate a lot of junk. I always struggled with my weight. I was never felt confident in sports or anything like that. And so through my 20s, I would lose weight, gain weight, always the diet starts Monday situation. And then I met my husband, or well, my boyfriend at the time, and like about a year into, we started getting into running. I started getting into running. So I was a runner. I had done like 3 half marathons when I got introduced to P90X. And I went all in with that program. And it was the first time in my life that I actually committed to something, and it changed my life forever. It became truly a lifestyle for me, even though it's a pretty extreme program. But when I did that program, this is what really kind of launched me, why I'm so passionate about this topic. Is I was a runner and I decided I love writing, and I decided to start a blog where I would document my experience going through P90X and with running. And actually was training for a marathon at the time. So I was a little crazy because I did both. And I called my blog. So I was just telling my husband this yesterday. My blog was called Femme Fatale Conquering a Marathon with P90X.wordpress.com. It's like the worst URL you could ever think of. I had no idea what I was doing. I just started blogging. Like my first blog post was like, I bought my equipment. Here's what I got. Like it was like, I just documented everything. And I just started sharing, and I got a Twitter account. I started tweeting. So every day after my P90X workout, I would tweet, did this workout, did, Yoga Fix Extreme, and I remember being like, did Yoga Fix Extreme, was able to hold a certain position for the whole time, did ab ripper, and was able to do the whole thing. I just started doing that and sharing also my running on Twitter and my blog. So I had no idea how to promote my blog or how to get more people to read it. Almost no one read it at first. Even my mom would read my blog. And then I just kept sharing because I just like sharing and connecting with other people. So I made some friends on Twitter. I continued to blog. I actually became a coach back then, very brief. Well, not that briefly, but I had no idea what I was doing. I would just slap my link on my blog, and guess what? No one signed up using that way. And I had some friends join me, of course, because I had incredible results. I was on the infomercial for P90X back in the day. And if you had Googled P90X results, mine was like one of the #1 results on Google. So that really helped. Because I had such good results and I was documenting so detailed, it helped my blog kind of get on the map as something that related to P90X. But I completely stopped doing that. I just dove into running, I've run 7 or 8 marathons now. And running is my passion. I've always enjoyed doing strength training at the same time. So when I had my daughter, I had not been doing P90, I've been doing Beachbody for many years. I was no longer a coach, and I had my daughter and I gained quite a bit of weight. And after I was done, I couldn't get back to my Pilates classes and all of that. And I wanted to, if I did get a babysitter, I wanted to be able to go run. So I did P90X again, and this time not completely all out, but still had great results. And that's when I discovered 21 Day Fix, which was way, way better, as we all know, with 30-minute workouts, and decided, a friend of mine, one of my good friends, encouraged me to coach. She was thinking about signing up with my now coach, Kelly, and she kept being in my ear, like, you got to do it. You got to do it. And, you have such good, and I was like, oh, okay, I don't know. I don't really know. But I was on maternity leave, and I was an accountant before. And I never loved accounting, but I had taken this extended maternity leave because I really wanted to be home with my daughter longer. I never thought I would want to be a stay-at-home mom, but once I was a mom, I just wanted to be around her all the time. And I really enjoyed the lifestyle of being able to do what I wanted and being with my baby. And so I extended my maternity leave, and I got kind of bored, and I was like, okay, I'll do this coaching thing. It'll give me something to do. And it kind of just went from there, where I started sharing it, and I went back to my full-time job in accounting for about 5 months. I was doing, my husband and I are both working full-time out of the house. So we had daycare drop-offs, and I was pumping, I was training for a marathon, I was a Beachbody coach, I was working full-time, I was taking my computer home at night to work at the end of the day, or at least pretend like I was, because I constantly felt guilty that I wasn't putting in enough hours at my corporate job because of having to pump and being away from my desk. And I just constantly was feeling like, I think I remember sending my husband an email and being like, I feel like I have a million balls in the air and I am dropping all of them, and something's got to give. And I don't like what I do as an accountant. We didn't think that we could make it work financially, because I was the breadwinner by a little bit, but not to the point where we live in Southern California. We were not going to be surviving on one income with the lifestyle that we currently had. We ultimately figured out how to make it work so that I could quit my job, do Beachbody part-time. I was making a couple $100s a month at this point. But I started seeing the vision of what could happen. I remember a national wake-up call, and this is why I want everyone to listen to the national wake-up call. The reason why you have to listen to the national wake-up call is not just because of the tips, it's because of the stories, because those stories, hearing people from all different perspectives, different walks of life, different reasons, different obstacles, to hear them succeed in all different ways, that is why you got to listen to National Wake Up Call, because it's going to constantly add that little bit of belief. And for me, there was one National Wake Up Call where a woman, she talked about putting her daughter on the school bus and picking her daughter up from the school bus. And like I said, I was an only child with a mom who didn't get to pick me up from school because she was working. And now I'm going to get emotional. That's a big reason why I gained weight growing up, was because of being home after school and being bored, sitting in front of a TV and eating food. And so I think it kind of like all that hit me. I remember crying listening to her national wake up call, because she was able to quit her job and go be home with her kid while she was doing something she loved, and be there after school to pick her kids up from the bus. And something just clicked, and I was like, if they can do it, I can do it. And I had a slow start in this business. Because I had somewhat of a following, I had a lot of pride, and I did not do personal invites for a really long time. I just relied on my, what is it called, traction marketing. And I was afraid to put myself out there in a lot of ways. I held back in a lot of ways. I didn't invite to coaching a lot. I kind of thought that people would just naturally start joining me and my team. And it was about 2 years into my business, when I was just, kind of a struggling diamond, that I was in a group called Fearless Recruiting with some top coaches, and something clicked in me, and I was like, I am going all in. And previous to this, my husband actually got laid off from his job when I was 7 months pregnant with twins. So we were at the point where I really needed to go all in. And I remember it was that group where I was hearing from coaches who were just like me, who had done it. And I thought, again, if they can do it, I can do it. And I shifted my mindset. I went all, and I always used to hate when people would say I decided, because I was like, what did you decide? How do I decide? But it was a mindset shift. And from there, things just took off for me. I started, at first you couldn't see it, but I started having more working coaches want to be signing up with me. I started talking about coaching. I started getting more confident with it. I started growing. I started sharing more confidently to my ideal customer, my niche, my runners, my moms. And things started to grow and grow and grow. And I work hard. But yeah, now this year I finally gotten to the point where I've surpassed that 6-figure accounting income. I'm home with my 3 girls who they're in school right now. I'm very much I don't want to be a full-time stay-at-home mom, but I don't want to be a full-time working mom. So I have this in between where my kids are in school 3 days a week. I get to be with them. And I also get to pursue something I love. And so now I have this team, we're called Team Run the World, and we're mostly runners. I'd say like 95% of us are runners, and that's who I speak to is runners. If you follow me, now my blog is Fitness Fatale, not Femme Fatale, conquering P90X, what all that craziness. You'll see me share about running. You'll see me share about motherhood, twin mom, being a twin mom, and being, and there's so much more to that. So I'll get into that once we get to the questions. But coaching has truly, I just told my husband this yesterday. We took the day off it's my birthday on Christmas, and we took the day off yesterday because my kids are in school this week. Thank God. I have 3 kids in preschool at the same time. So they're all in school yesterday, and we decided to take the day off and go celebrate my birthday and go for a hike. And on our hike, I just told him, I'm like, I don't think I've ever, like, this job, like coaching is exactly what I was meant to do. Like, I love being in community with people. I love like inviting people to do things with me. I love goal achievement. I love fitness, obviously, but I love having the freedom. For me, the freedom is the most, like, I don't want anyone telling me what to do or when to be somewhere or where to go. And the fact that I get to help other people and work from home and significantly contribute to our finances at the same time and be home with my girls, it's just a dream come true. So that's a long intro, but go ahead, Ashley.
That's amazing. I love that so much. All right, Ash, tell us how you got started as a coach.
I freaking love this. Hot seats are my favorite, and I love just hearing different stories. So I found Beachbody through an infomercial, and just wasn't, yeah, I had heard of P90X, had heard of Insanity, found an infomercial for Turbo, and was like, that sounds fun. So got that, didn't really commit because I just wasn't in the right place to change my nutrition. Mindset was kind of all over the place. And that was in 2000. It was getting ready for New Year's 2008. So New Year's Eve 2007 is when I found it. And I wasn't ready to be serious till 2012. And in 2012, I lost 130 pounds with Turbo Fire and had like people like coming out of the woodwork asking what I was doing. And I was sending people to the Beachbody site, and I was like very easily talking about Beachbody and Turbo. I knew what coaching was. There was this thing at the end of Turbo Fire that talked about coaching and talked about Summit. And I wanted to go to Summit because I wanted to work out with the trainers. I didn't want to do this to make money. I didn't want to make groups. I just wanted to go meet the trainers. And I wanted to work out with the trainers, and not even work out with the trainers. I wanted to work out in the middle of the road with 20,000 people who love Shalene as much as I do. Like, that looked like the coolest thing on the planet. But I didn't want to coach, and I was following so many coaches. Because if you've ever done Turbo, the whole entire cast of Turbo, they're all coaches. Most of them are 15 stars. I should know that at the time. And I was following a lot of them. I thought they were all really salesy. I didn't like how a lot of them posted. And so I didn't want to sign up. Somebody ended up talking me into it. I signed up to be a coach. It was just as horrible as I thought it was going to be. It was very salesy. It was very whatever. I made a lot of money my first month. My first month, Turbo Fire was on sale. So not only did I have an amazing testimony and my own transformation, it was on sale. So it was very easy for me to talk about it. And I made almost $1,000 my first month, and I still quit after that because I hated it. I didn't want, Shakeology was overpriced, whatever. And it took me, so I canceled my coach account and got pregnant with my oldest. And over the course of my pregnancy, I gained 100 pounds. And then none of it. I thought it would like magically come off. I knew how to lose weight. I had Beachbody. By the time I had my daughter, I had Turbo Jam, Turbo Fire, Chalene Extreme, Insanity, and Pio. And so I was like, I'm good. Like I know what to do. The weight would not come off. And I was just so inconsistent. And I was really good Monday through Thursday, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday was a joke. And about a year into my postpartum transformation, my best friend signed up to be a coach. And I remember thinking I was going to have to like unfriend her because she was going to like blow me up and she was going to be salesy and gross and whatever. And she wasn't. She never invited me. She didn't ever post anything salesy or awkward or whatever. She was so authentic and she was so real. She showed her real life, both how Beachbody really fit into her life, both the good days and the bad days. She talked about the days she ate treats. She talked about the days the scale didn't move. And she talked about the days that she had massive milestones and fit into pre-baby clothes. Like there was both sides of the coin. And she talked about her life outside of Beachbody and she weaved in coaching and how it was blessing her family. And I just was so intrigued that like, I don't know what you're doing, because it's not even that I watch Beachbody coaches. I was a coach. Like I've been a part of this world, and what you're doing is not what I was trained to do in my old team. And I watched her for 6 months. And by the time I joined, she was 2-star. She was making a baller income, and I signed up, and it took me, I was pretty stubborn for a hot second. And then she kind of like, dude, what you're doing isn't working, and you joined me because you like what I'm doing. Stop doing things the old way. Why don't you just listen to me? And it worked. I went from nobody underneath me to diamond 6 weeks later, and was able to quit like the part-time transcription job I had. And that was my goal. And I didn't really want anything more from this. I didn't think anybody would ever be inspired by me or want to join me. And so I held myself back in the business for the first 2.5 years and hit some breaking points and realized that I wanted this to become something bigger. I wanted a team. I wanted my own community. I wanted my challenge groups to not just be me talking to myself. I wanted to have a community of people in the group that they were my people. They were people who came in because of me. They weren't Jaylen's people. They weren't my success partners people. They were my people. And that I wanted this to become something more than it was. And that the income I was making was great. I was basically covering my mortgage, which was great, but I realized I wanted bigger. And so I made a couple shifts and really leaned in. And it's kind of crazy to look back, and we're a 3-time elite team now. And just to see like what so much of this starts with the decision of deciding that you want something to be different. I don't know of anybody in this business that like, I don't even know what happened. I turned around and 15 of my coaches had gone diamond. I don't even know how that happened. That doesn't happen. There's no one in this business that will tell you that. You have to decide, and no one turns around and is like, maybe like brand new people at the beginning who are like, I didn't understand how Success Club worked, but they're like, I hit SC30 my first month and I didn't even know what I was doing. They may not have understood the Beachbody words, but they understood they were starting people with a pack because they were talking about the pack because they believed in the pack. There's nobody that like, I don't even know what happened. I posted my transformation and I woke up to $50 million in my bank account. Like that is just not how it works. And anyway, I could go off about that a lot, but for me, one of the big turning points, being authentic and finding my people helped immensely. But I had to decide first that that's what I wanted, and that I wanted this to become something more than it was.
That's so good. So powerful. It leads us into our first question. And I love what you said too. It's a decision. This will be hard. You have to decide if you want the vision, the success, or if you want to just stay comfortable and you don't ever want to be challenged. That is everything in life, not just our business. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay. So first question is, speaking of finding your people, Ash, and how important that was to your business growth, Can you guys talk about the power of having a niche market? Do you have a niche market? And how do you speak to that niche market on social media?
Okay, so I'll go first on this one. So, because this is one of the things I love is when we were planning our content for this, Nicole and I were like kind of talking about some of the questions and our perspectives. Nicole and I have pretty different perspectives on this, so I'm stoked. So I don't necessarily feel like I have a niche or a niche, whatever that word is. More than anything, I'm just very intentional and purposeful about being real and sharing me. And I have had to develop incredibly thick skin because no one on the planet is me. There are people on the planet that have, and like my people, my team, my challengers, some of my challengers, think the same as me on some things, but I don't want people who are joining my group because they're inspired by my transformation. I mean, yes, I do want that, but I want people who like me as a person. And in order for that to happen, they need to know who I am as a person. So I talk about who I am as a person. And I started saying this and got sidetracked. I've had to develop some pretty thick skin because I got a lot of people that don't think the same things as me. I don't necessarily like go off about who I voted for politically or, whatever. I'm very pro police. There's a lot of people out there that don't like the police. I'm very pro, I stand behind, my husband works for Lions Not Sheep and their message, and there's a whole lot of people that don't like them, and that I stand behind that. And I'm a girl mom. I'm someone who I've gotten mad hate for being I love Dave Ramsey. I'm very into personal development. I just completed the program. It's a mindset program that incorporates a fitness element called 75 Hard that has brought out like astronomical amounts of trolls. I have no idea why. And just, I have discovered that it makes Ashley Molstad talked once about it's ice cream flavor. If you are vanilla is the base to a lot of different ice creams. So people can get vanilla and make their own sundaes however they want. So vanilla may look popular, but nobody comes out and says, vanilla is my favorite ice cream flavor on the planet. Like, my favorite ice cream flavor is like the one from Cold Stone. That's the Reese's peanut butter cup with the brownie pieces and the chocolate drizzle and the peanut butter. And like, I want the peanut butter. And it's not just vanilla. And the more that I have become my own version of a Cold Stone Creamery creation of making it abundantly clear who I am, what I am about. It doesn't mean every coach in my team thinks exactly the same thing as me. It doesn't mean every client in my team thinks the same things as me. But it makes it so that they at least know that about me. And if they're okay with what they know about me, and they are still like me as a person, they're going to like me once they get in my groups. They're going to like me once they get in my team page. They're going to like me once we're sleeping in the same bed at Summit. They're going to like me once we're spending a week together at a retreat. If they don't I want to make sure that they're not blindsided when they meet me at a retreat and go whoa, I didn't know, does my team know everything about me? Of course not. But you know what I mean? So for me, I don't necessarily have a niche. I don't have my whole team is police wives. My whole team, no, but nobody in my team is anti-police. Because that shit won't stand in my team. Not here for that. So, but I know that's me. Does everybody in my team believe in God? No, but everybody in my team is at least okay with me talking about God because I talk about God a lot. And so they don't have to be the same denomination as me. They don't have to believe in God, but they need to at least be cool with me believing that in order to fit in my groups, to fit in my whatever. And it has made it so that everything feels more authentic because I'm showing up as myself on social media. I show up as myself in my challenge groups. I show up as myself to my team because I'm not trying to put on a facade on social media so people will buy from me. And then there's this whole different side of me they don't know. There is no different side. I am me on social media. And again, you have to have very thick skin to do that because there's a lot of people who will come out and tell you how much they don't like you. And the more you know who you are and the more you show who you are, there will be more people who tell you they don't like who you are. But it's critics math. There's for every, I've heard it's for every 90-10. I don't think it's 90-10. It's like every 98-2. So for every 980 people that love me, there are 20 people that don't. So you gotta train your brain to focus on the 980. You have to have a thick skin, and there will be more people that like you than people that don't. But the more you know who you are, okay. All right, I'm gonna stop talking now. Nicole, I know you are like very different answer on the niche thing. Let's hear it, boo.
Yeah, we are very different. I don't get messages like that, which not that that's a bad thing. I get messages that tell me that I am different than the average Beachbody coach, and that people appreciate that because I speak to my niche. I speak to my twin moms more than I speak to Beachbody, but I am very proud of being a Beachbody coach, and I very much talk about how I improve the products work. I talk about what they do for me, but that's not what you're going to see in 80% of my feed, right, is Beachbody. And I do not like to talk about like super political things or like get super into my opinions about personal stuff. So yeah, we're different on that. So I think you can be both ways. For me, like I said, I've always been a runner. For me, that's a very strong niche. So when you have a strong niche of people that you are, so maybe it is being a police wife, like a girl on our team, or a fire wife, or a homeschooling mom, or vegan, or a runner, when you have something that you are passionate about and that you genuinely like, a niche is something that like you spend time researching online. So maybe that's like home decor. Like, what do you do in your free time? I read books about running. I run. I research training plans. I love running. So like my coach is a runner, but she's not reading running books. She doesn't even know what a taper is. She doesn't know what these things are. So whatever you spend your free time doing, that's probably what your niche is, or what one of the topics that you should be talking about on social media regularly, and including in your feed and in your stories and in your main posts, so that people connect with you on that, not just Beachbody. So it doesn't have to be, I know people struggle, like the running is a really good niche for me. It's very strong. And I think that no matter what, it took me a while to come into it. So in the beginning, like I said, I had an amazing transformation with P90X, and I truly believe that anyone can get those results, runner or not. And in the beginning, I feel like I didn't fully let myself embrace who I am and show up on social media for who I am, because I was afraid that people, like you said, the vanilla ice cream. I was like vanilla with chocolate swirl in the beginning. I was like, I have a couple layers, but I'm like, I wasn't showing every part of me. Like, for example, I love to work out. So in the beginning, I would sometimes hide that I would run and I would do a strength training workout. Like, I didn't want to show people like, you have to run and do Beachbody in order to be fit. But once I started showing that, I do run, I do strength training. Once I started meeting and attracting more people like this, I started attracting my hardcore people. I started attracting the people who love to do workout, who love to run and do marathons, and they love to do Beachbody. And the more that I spoke about that and I started blogging about that, the more I started attracting people like that. So I speak about it on my Instagram too, but on my blog, I've shifted a lot to like if you Google any Beachbody program and running, you're going to find my blog, because I talk about that. That's something that I offer value in. It's a free value that I offer on my blog and on my social media. I talk about running and strength training so that people come to my page because they want to get that value and that information. Then they connect with me in a different way. They continue to follow, and then they want to join my group because they know that I'm a runner who does Beachbody programs. So I have people all the time say, I want to do Beachbody, but I want to do it with a group of runners. I want people who know me, who connect with me. And so you can do that with any niche. It doesn't have to be running. It can be, your faith. It can be like fire. Like I said, there's a coach that's fire wives. Like, I think another really cool thing about having a niche is you can run free groups or create communities around your niche. So this is another one of my niches, which is twin moms. But when I was pregnant with my twins, I created like a Facebook community for pregnant women. So it was just pregnant. You had to be pregnant to be in the group. And it was like people who wanted to be fit and be pregnant. So that's how I attracted actually what my first ever diamond coach was through that group, who she had her baby at the same time as me. I had my twins, and then she ended up joining me. But another thing we've done is, because my team is mostly runners, like I'm able to run a free group where we offer, it's like a free boot camp where we do running and strength training. And then I can invite my entire team to invite people to this group. And since we're all kind of united in this same niche, we're talking to similar people, we can all invite to this free group. And so it not only creates value for me, but it creates value for my team, that we're all kind of united on this same topic. I did a team call for someone else on this topic, and I wrote a couple of questions. I touched on it at the beginning, but like, if you want to ask yourself to figure out like what your social media content should be about besides Beachbody, it's like, what do you think about all day? Like, what do you read books about, search for? Who do you feel called to help, or who do you want to help? So sometimes we can, like, I have shifted from my twin mom niche back to my running niche, but when I was pregnant with twins, obviously that's who I was connecting with all day. I was connecting with my twin moms. I was using hashtag 8 months pregnant. I was using hashtag twin pregnancy, hashtag. Those were the ones I was searching. Those are the ones I was following. That was the content I was sharing more about, my symptoms of twin pregnancy and the struggles. And I still touch on that because that's part of my niche, but your niche can also kind of evolve as you evolve. Another thing to quickly note is the same thing is like, people, you're not always going to please the people. You're not always going to connect with the same people over time. And I know when I first, like I mentioned, I was a run blogger and I was sharing on Instagram. I didn't have a big following, you guys. I think I had like 1,300 followers. So it wasn't like I was a huge run influencer before this. But at some point I noticed that several of these women who I had connected with back in my running days had unfollowed me. And I remember being offended, like, we were friends. We used to read each other's blogs and comment on them regularly. Like, we had the friendship. Why did they unfollow me? I was like, you know what? They're not moms anymore. I've become a mom. Maybe it's because I'm a Beachbody coach. But at the end of the day, it's okay if those people that I connected with back then, now they don't resonate with me anymore. And that's fine. Like, it can hurt sometimes, I think, but you have to realize that when you're talking to the right person, then the people, like you said, the people that don't connect with you don't matter anymore. Like, they might still like you as a person. They just don't want to watch your stories. They talk about other things or whatever, you triggered them in some way. It's not about you. It's about them, right? About what they want. And same goes for your family and friends. And I know this is what I think a lot of people struggle with. They're like, well, I don't want to go too neat. I don't want to start really talking about this other topic, my niche, because I don't want to like scare away my friends and family. But I always talk about like my best friend is a life coach for divorced women. And I don't unfollow her just because I'm married and half of her stories are about relationships and divorce. I still follow her and watch her stories. And maybe I swipe past, like, just like my friends swipe past when I do 6 stories talking about joining me as a coach, they swipe, that's fine. But I still follow her and I still love her and I still support her. So don't ever don't think about your close friends and family when you're thinking about your niche. Think about the people you want on your team, that you want to serve, that you want to connect with. And when I really went all in with my niche of Run the World, this was only this year that I created my team name, because I've been part of a larger team where I've been like a co-leader of for a long time. And this year was the year I really went out on our own. And this is the year we became elite. I think because we finally embraced that we're Team Run the World, that we are runners, and it united us all around the same shared mission, because we are so similar, but we're all different, of course. But
that was so awesome. There's something that the next question you guys kind of already covered, but I wanted to highlight it just in case you guys missed it. I was going to ask more about like sharing authentically with it, which I know Ashley talked about, how important that is to your business because it builds trust. But also Nicole had said and touched on that which I always butcher this word, niche market, can evolve, and it should evolve. And there's something that those two go hand in hand. Being authentic and your niche market or your audience who you're speaking to should evolve with your life so that you're always feeling authentic. Because in personal development in this journey, we're going to continue to evolve. You have more babies. I started with 1 kid working full-time, and now I have 3 kids. I'm working full-time from home. So my message has shifted a little bit. like Nicole said, you can always touch back on your journey, and you should, but it's okay for you to say, I'm going to try right now. I'm going to try for the next 90 days to speak about to this niche because it brings me joy, which it should. And after 90 days, if that isn't working for me, then maybe I'm going to pivot and I'm going to try a different area of my life that brings me joy. I see so many coaches get stuck here. Like, I don't know what to choose because I want to serve everyone. And if I choose fire wives, then I can't serve someone else that doesn't have a husband. Like, don't overcomplicate it. Just choose one and do it.
Well, and I also think that we tend to, I know for me, I wanted my niche to be fashion, or I wanted my niche to be like being good at makeup or hair tutorials or things that are kind of girly, because my coach is like that, my upline, and I love that about her. Her hair tutorials are just amazing. Her makeup tutorials, like she could literally be a model. And she's one of those people who can like throw on a shirt and a hat and like tilt it over her eye and pants and tuck it in and boots, and she literally will look like she stepped off a runway. Like, she's one of those annoying people. I love her to death. And like, I wanted that to be my niche, and that, oh, it'll make me get ready, and it will make me get dressed, and it will make me learn about fashion, and it will whatever. That's not what your niche is. That's, your niche should not be something that you are like wanting to learn more about, something that you're wanting, whatever. Your niche should be, in my opinion, something that you are super passionate about. Like Nicole said, that's something that people just maybe don't know about you, but it is already a part of your life. So for me, like everything with my husband's work, with the police world, like that is something that was it unintentionally became part of my niche, because it's a massive part of my life that people just didn't know how passionate about it until I got vocal about it on social media. And so that it shouldn't be this thing that you're like trying to create a niche. It's something that you already have about you that people maybe just don't know.
Yeah,
I agree. I love that. Something
I
that
was
brings
going
me
to
joy.
say how I just feel like it's when you really do have that, and I'm only talking about running maybe in like 1/3 of my posts, or one, I don't know, like 1 or 2 out of 3. I'm not always talking about it, but the power of the niche is that when you can get, like, having people will follow you more, like your follow back ratio as you're going out and reaching out to similar accounts is going to be higher when they can immediately go to your profile and say, oh, she's a mom, she's a runner. Okay, I'm a mom, I'm a runner. And it's going to be easier for you to find accounts similar to you, to even find the people if you have something you're talking about. If it's just, I'm a mom and I like to work out, like how are you going to find your people? It's going to be so hard. Like, the more specific you can get, the easier it is to find new followers and to have them follow you back. So, and it's also way easier to start a conversation. Like, if someone follows me and it's a private account, I can send them a DM and say, hey, like, thanks for following. Are you a mom or a runner too? Or do we have something else in common? And there's 0% chance they're not a mom or a runner. Why would they follow me? It doesn't even like there would be no reason. So it's just so much easier to have a conversation. And I can be like, what rate are you training for a race? Are you like doing virtual races? I can have a conversation with someone because I know we share that interest. So it really makes it easier to connect.
Mm-hmm. I would totally agree. And for some of you in the chat, like, I don't feel like I have a niche. We all do. And it sometimes is a journey of figuring out what you want to work in. And you got to try. You just got to try, and it changes. Absolutely. And I think that it's so important here. And I see a lot of coaches miss this. They post only about their fitness journey. And this is going to lead me into my next question for you guys. They post only about their fitness journey, or only about Beachbody, or only, but people, if they don't know you, if they don't know who you are, what you value, your sense of humor, have you guys ever had someone at the grocery store like recognize you because they like following you? They feel like they know you because you've been vulnerable and you've shared your life. You saw Ashley being Olaf in her front yard, and you're like, oh my gosh, I love her, because I would be right next to her dressed up as one of the other, I'm like totally blanking, the reindeer on Frozen. I would be Elsa. Like, I would sing Elsa and let it go with her in the front yard if we lived together. Like, that is what, Sven, thank you, builds trust. You are your own billboard. So why would someone want to reach out to you? You have to share that. Okay, so with your social media, do you guys have a specific strategy? Like, are there certain topics you share about certain days of the week? Do you have a posting calendar? Do you organize that? Or do you just share kind of whatever comes to your heart that day? What's your social media marketing strategy?
I wish I had one, you guys. I'm not, I know. My strategy is what's on my heart that day, what I think my audience wants to hear, which is probably what I need to hear. And then I do make sure, like, I look at my feed sometimes and I'm like, okay, I haven't talked about my kid. Like my 3 top, like, this is what one of my coaches asked the question about. Like, I encourage my coaches to pick 3 things. So mine is running, then mine is like fitness is probably gonna be one of them, or like Beachbody is gonna be one of them. Fitness, running, and then motherhood. And my motherhood spin is generally that I'm not a perfect mom. I don't have a clean house. I forget, like this morning we went to Target at 8:30 a.m. to get my daughter pajama, or 7:30 a.m. to get pajamas for pajama day at school, for Christmas pajama day. So I'm not Pinterest mom. So we all have our own flavor of being a mom. Like your motherhood can be a niche, but you got to get, like, I have toddlers. So I talk about sleep and that, those kind of things. There's so much more to you. I know someone said that they feel like they don't have anything to post because of COVID. There's so much more to your life, and you don't have to talk about today. Tell stories. I'm a storyteller. I will tell stories of the past. I will sometimes do, like, people seem to really like when I talk about my relationship with my husband. So sometimes I'll throw that in. That's not one of my 3 main things I post, but I'll share, a story about us, or I'll share a running story from 5 years ago when I had a really hard race or a really good race, or I don't know, I tell stories about different things, or when I found out I was pregnant with twins and the shock of that. Like, I keep telling that story. I've told the story of my breastfeeding problem, like issues for many times, because I never know who's reading it that day, who needs to hear that it's okay if you have, if you need to pump and supplement and all of these things. I'm telling my story repeatedly. So you don't have to tell what you did today. It can just be, oh, I haven't talked about parenting in a while. What could I share about parenting? Maybe a story, maybe, something I'm struggling with today.
Mine's pretty similar. I don't necessarily have a strategy. If there's anything, it's a lot easier to do this on Instagram than it is on Facebook. So I'll just pull up my Instagram and look at my top 9 pictures. And I always like, okay, so what's there? So right now I have a side by side. I always make sure I have a transformation picture. There's a picture of my family. There's pictures where you can see my face. There's not really any like fashion-y, like me getting ready. So that's probably one of the next posts I do will be something about that. We just got a puppy. So there's multiple posts about my puppy. I'll probably do a picture of me and my husband at some point, like in the near future, because exactly, I do, for some reason, those ones get good engagement. I don't have a picture of food. So maybe I'll do something about what I eat, because that's something I get asked a lot. There you go. I just thought of like, what, 5 posts, just like that. So that I use pictures to help me trigger things. And I just kind of evaluate what's in my feed at the time. And I know at a quick glance what the words are. So I also know there's multiple call to actions in here about my journey and talking about 9-week control freak and whatever. There's not anything in here about coaching. So I need to like, oh, that's probably something I should bring up. Maybe I'll do like the getting ready picture where I'm like ready and it's a semi-decent picture of me. Maybe that one I'll be talking about coaching and how 2020 was a shit year for a lot of people, but it wasn't for me in a lot of ways. And obviously there were things that were hard, but that like 2020 was a good year for me, and bring up coaching and how my team grew. I have not done a post about how we hit elite. And I don't know if it's because I'm waiting for the call. I don't know. I haven't done a post about it. I talked about it in my stories, but there's not a hard post on my feed. So maybe that's what I would do. Like that's, there you go. That's how I formulate my posts. I look at my thing and I think about what's there and what's not and what I want to talk about and what's on my heart. And then that's what I put up. And if I am just feeling stuck and I'm like, I don't know, I don't feel like the words aren't coming to me for what I want to say today, then I will sit and think on it, because I do think it's important to try to get a post up every day. But if I really, truly cannot think of something, I just won't post. But I notice a lot of new coaches will blame that, and I check their feed and they'll post twice in 6 months and they blame it. Well, I just didn't know what to say. That is not what I said. And especially when you're new and you're trying to establish credibility, you need to be posting regularly. You're trying to get credibility. At this point, I've been doing this for 5.5 years. So the credibility is kind of there. They would have to scroll back a very, very long ways in fact, this account, it didn't exist before I was a coach. They could not scroll back and see when I wasn't consistent. Like it's there. And the consistency has been proven. So if you have not established your consistency yet, you just figure out the things that are important to you that you want to post, and you got to post them. And even if it's sloppy.
Yeah. I think another thing is important is like, think about what are the conversations you are having with people, or when people do want to join you, what are they saying? Why are they joining you? Like, what are they saying? Right? Because those are the things you can touch on in your social media posts. And even if it's a jab where you're not doing a call to action, but you're just talking about it, you can mention think through, and even if you haven't had that many customers, what did they say they actually need from you? If you don't know what they need, then you're not having a good conversation with them to get them set up for your group. So you should be asking them why they want to join, right? So that you know that. Yeah. I only post on my main feed 4 to 5 times a week, if that helps. But
I think that was so key. And it's important that everyone knows themselves too. Like you have to know yourself. You have to know what you need. Because I'm sure you guys have experienced this too, that there's a lot of coaches who will get in their head too much about what to post and literally spend hours obsessing about what should I post. And so in their head, they're working for 2 hours, but nothing is getting done. So if that's you, I would actually recommend that you pick 7 topics about yourself. Make one of them coaching, make one of them fitness, maybe make one of them nutrition, but then you have 4 about your life, maybe your family, maybe your faith, maybe about your patriotism. I don't know, whatever. I'm a health patriot. So that's what came to my brain. But pick 7 topics, 1 for each day of the week. So you're stop overthinking it, and then teach about something, share about something about your story every day of the week, and just like make it simple. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. Find a picture of the past, take a bunch of pictures of your family, and just keep it simple and share so people get to know you. If that's you, then create a system that works for you. I am very much someone, just like you both, that I have to post in the moment. I've never been able to use like Planoly is an app that you can like post your month's content beforehand, which for some people is amazing. That works amazing. That will not work for me. So know yourself and know that you have to figure it out to work for you. Just show up. Okay. So along those lines, we are running out of time here. How often do you guys say, and this is kind of along the same lines, but I know a lot of people, how often do you say that you talk about coaching versus challenge groups versus regular life? You kind of touched on this, but is there anything in addition that you wanted to say other than like doing a social media audit? Have I talked about coaching? Have I talked about my life? Is there any other tips that you have to share about that?
I talk about challenge groups more leading up to a challenge group, and then I talk about coaching leading up to my sip and learn, but I do talk about coaching throughout the month, all month. So I'm kind of sprinkling both, but I'm doing more calls to action for challenge groups like the first half of the month, and I have my challenge group start mid-month, and then I go to the like coach more on coaching side.
I've noticed it's just natural for me to talk about challenge groups more. And it's probably because this year has been very focused on my own journey and my own transformation. So it's just a lot easier for me to talk about. So that's probably the majority of what my hard posts are. But I do talk about coaching for sure. Stories is a totally different story. No pun intended. I make sure they all come up every day, literally every day. My challenge group is going to come up. The fact that they can join me every single day. And the fact that I'm coaching and that I treat this like a business, and when it is I'm sitting down to work and how I work, or maybe breadcrumbing what I do to work, or where I'm working, or why I'm working, or that they can join me, there's some element of coaching that's going to come up every day. like that. And those are big. And then obviously my real life is going to come up. I'm going to show my puppy. I'm going to show things I'm passionate about. I'm going to talk about 75 hard. I'm going to talk about what I ate. I'm going to talk about my supplements. I'm going to show my personal development. I'm going to whatever. I'm going to weave in all the other things. So it's not just challenge groups coaching. But if someone watches my stories for any consistent amount of time, they're going to know what I do and that they can join me. Because I literally do a call to action every single day for at least challenge group or coaching. And I try to bring them both up every single day in my stories.
I love that. And here, for those of you who are like, oh, that sounds hard, choose your hard. This is where Ashley said in the beginning, you have to make a decision. What's more hard, showing up consistently and being disciplined, or not growing your business and being frustrated because it's not growing? Those are your two options. You figure it out. You act like a business owner. I love that you guys shared that. Thank you so much. So we speaking to your audience, being vulnerable and authentic and who you are. So your people watching your feed know that about you. How many invites do you send? Let's talk about invites really quick. How many invites do you send? Who are you inviting? And what is your average like SC numbers that you're getting each month?
So I send 10 invites a day, 5 days a week. Literally haven't done more than that ever. And what was the second question? Where are they inviting? I'm inviting people who watch my stories or who like or comment on my posts. And I average between SC 50 and SC 100. It just kind of depends on the month. So that's the thing, is where the like choose your hard things come from. Is I am a coach. I've kind of discovered my invites are low compared to a lot of coaches in the network, and my SC numbers don't suck. That sounded really cocky, but I that's because I'm vulnerable. People know who I am, and it helps. Is it hard? Yes. Is it hard to show up that consistently? Yes. Is it hard to be that vulnerable? Yes. Is it worth it? Yes. People come to me. I do still do invites. I do still do follow-ups. I keep track of people, but people come to me. It helps a ton.
I'm about the same. I've been tracking invites. I do about 50 a week. I would say majority come from, I'd say half of those are me re-inviting people that have reached out to me in the past, and I'm going back to just re-invite them. And then half of those would be like new invites from stories, or people who watch my stories or who liked a transformation post or liked a running post. And I average 55, I just looked, 55 Success Club points this year. But this has been a big year for me. Last December, I set a goal to hit SC 50 in January, and I missed it. I hit SC 30. And then this year I've leveled up, and I think it's part of it is my niche. Is I've run these groups for runners, and I'm really hammering in the running and strength training. So my highest was SC 72 the month that I ran. It was like last month, 2 months ago. I don't know. But now I usually hit over 40. If this month I'm already at 54.
You guys, that is incredible.
But and it's the same. They're mostly coming to me because of my strong niche and and traction marketing. I don't think that you can come into this business though and magically have attraction marketing working for you. Like I said, I started with attraction marketing kind of because of my blog and Instagram, and I hit SC 6 to 10. And then I like started inviting, and I started going from 10 to 20. I was in the 10 to 20 range. Like I was like 10 is the minimum no matter what. I set that minimum. I think I've only missed it twice since I've coached SC 10. And once I set that minimum, I was like, I'm not ever going less than 10. And then it started being in the 10 to 20 range every month. And then I remember last year I said, okay, 20 is the minimum. And then I started going up. And then I think this year I said 30, I don't know, whatever. This year has just been because I've hosted these, like specifically I've hosted 3 different groups where it's just for runners, for a running and strength training group. And then 30 Day Breakaway came out, which really helped too. So having these options for runners, it helps me invite, and it also helps people want to join.
I think that's so powerful. Your guys' SC numbers every month are incredible. And I wanted to share as we wrap up. Oh my gosh, can you hear me? of course, they're blowing leaves off right outside the door. There were a few things that I've learned about you two that have evolved in your coaching journey that makes you where you're at. Your clarity in what you're doing and who you're speaking to and the transformation you have to offer and the problem you're solving for people. Remember, when you're on social media, you're speaking to the transformation you have to offer and the problem that you're solving. So people are coming to you who have those problems and who are seeking that transformation. It's specific. You have become the expertise in that area because you've consistently shown up and you believe in what you do. So you have this clarity of vision, clarity of what you do, belief in what you do, belief in the challenge pack because it gives people the best results. And you're showing up consistently so people trust you because you've shared who you are and what you're about. So they want to be friends with you and they want to support your business and they want to be a part of what you're doing. And I think that that's where social media, that's the plot, like that's what it's about. However you need to do that, you have to hit those buckets of being consistent over time and being passionate about what you're doing, bringing the joy to your audience, being a light in the dark world of social media. Oh, I love it. You guys are such inspiration, so powerful. Are there any other specific questions that you guys have that we did not cover about this topic? We had one more question. Approximately, how, I know you both are moms, approximately would you say at this point in your business, how many hours a week do you guys work?
It's hard to say.
I'm gonna let you take this one first.
I don't know. I know that in the beginning, I for sure worked like 1 to 2 hours a day. And now I would say I work at least 30 hours a week, if maybe more, depending on the week.
It really is one of those things. It's not, guys, this isn't a 40-hour a week employee punch in, punch out. I can tell you exactly how many hours that's just not how it works. So exactly at the beginning, when I was making not as much money, didn't have as many challengers, didn't have a big a team, like I worked maybe an hour a day. So 5 hours a week. And my paycheck showed it. And I think that's the thing, is you have to have that clear in your head that, like Jessica was talking about, overthinking a post is not working your business. Scrolling social media and being on your phone is not working your business. Like when Nicole and I talk about when we're working, we are actually working. We are doing income producing activities that are, expanding, connecting, inviting, following up, or it's providing value to the resources and the free groups or the challenge groups, or pouring into our team, or doing a training so we're pouring into ourselves or whatever. There's we're not scrolling. We're not trying, overthinking a post and calling it work. Okay. So when you're doing that intentional work time, mine is probably, my husband and I were talking about this, and I was saying the other day that I work part-time hours, and he was like, say what? And I was like, no, yes, I do. I don't work 40 hours a week. And he was like, that's debatable. He's dramatic. I would say that I work probably 4 to 5 hours a day, maybe. In my head, I really do only work 2 to 3, but I think it probably is a tiny bit higher than that, because I'm the one who replies to my messages in my inbox and stuff like that. And I do a lot of trainings and pouring into my team and my clients and whatever. I don't think I work more than 40. That was a very, very, very long way of me saying I bet it's 25. I'm going to stop talking.
Yeah. I don't have a lot. Like I said, I had a blog. I was on Instagram before. I did that for free. That for me, that doesn't feel like work. And almost a lot of what I do doesn't feel like work. There was a few times this week, you guys, where I was like, I do not want to sit down and reply to these emails about 9-week control freak. And then I had to check myself and be like, okay, I'm really lucky that I have all these emails in my inbox about 9-week control freak. But I also thought in the future, I'm getting an assistant that can reply to these emails, because I don't want to be, I'm in the mode where I want to be a multiple 6-figure earner in this business. I want to be a 15-star diamond. I'm in growth mode. Whatever the amount of hours and work I'm putting in now, I want that to show, that shows up in my paycheck in a year. And so that's in the mode I'm in, where I'm looking at I'm working, honestly, I'm working hard right now because I want to have even more flexibility and more freedom in my future. And I'm still learning the systems once you have better systems in place, you can be way more efficient. There's some great, I had way better systems implemented this year that have allowed me to take things off my plate and to free up time and allow me to follow up with a bunch of people quickly or send 50 invites in a minute on Google Streak because I'm re-inviting them from the past, right? Like things like that, that you can streamline and that you can get more efficient at. But you have to figure those things out, and it's going to take time. You're not going to figure it out on week one. Week one, you're just figuring out how to add someone to a challenge group. You know what I mean? Like it takes, you're going to evolve with time, and but what you put in will come out, and the more efficient you are with the time that you actually have, the better. Because yeah, we can all sit around scrolling. It's hard to say because yeah, when you're on Instagram just scrolling, is that work or not? I don't know. It's not really.
I totally agree. It's kind of hard. Okay, so before we jump off, Felisa, you had a question?
I just wanted to comment, thank you guys for coming on, but it is about perspective, because going into this call, if someone would have asked me, I'd be like, heck yeah, I can be where Ashley is. Yes, I can be where Nicole is. Got this, no problem. And then I started listening to you guys, and I started getting into my head. Success Club 30, I was going for Success Club 50, and I'm like sitting here going, ooh, Success Club 10 would be freaking amazing. And that's not to say, I mean, I've been showing up consistent, and I've been consistent getting Success Club. So I don't want to say that I got down on myself entirely, but initially when I'm listening to you guys, I started to get a little in my head. And that's why I was commenting, Ashley, and thank you for bringing me back out of my head, because I looked at you guys' social media and I was like, whoa, I'm happy with 1,000 followers. I was like, whoa, I'm at 1,000 followers. That's awesome. And so, hearing you say that at year one, you were at 400, that made me feel like, okay, I'm still on the right path. And I know everybody's story is different. I don't really compare myself. I used to do that when I was the first coach. I was a comeback coach. So I, like you, Ashley, I started and I was always with Beachbody, but I stopped coaching and I just kind of did my thing. So it's nice to hear that, it didn't happen for you overnight. And I think sometimes people need to hear that when you're first starting, so that you don't compare yourself to you guys where you're at now. Just wanted to kind of say that. And thank you guys for, letting us know how you got there.
Well, and I think mindset is big too, because if you guys haven't watched Ashley Molstad's little thing she did for Summit, you need to go find that, because she talked about how she hits Success Club 400 or something. And I remember the first time hearing her numbers that I was like, I'm literally hitting SC6 on the last day of the month. How in the hell is she finding this many new people a month? What is wrong? And I got went and looked at her page. Well, she has 100,000 followers and she had a post go viral. And she, if I had amazing blonde, look like Barbie, maybe she. There was zero look in the mirror. Well, Ashley McClellan, when was the last time you sent an invite? When was the last time you actually followed program and got results that people wanted to join you for? When was there was no look in the mirror and see what I was doing wrong. Everything was, oh yeah, well, it would be so much easier if And that when that flipped in my head that okay, if she can hit 400, I can learn how to hit 20. There's clearly something I'm missing. What is she doing that I'm not? How can I apply it? Oh, hey, look at that. My numbers came up. That really is what this whole evaluation process is I don't have as many followers I still don't even have a fraction of the followers Ashley Molstad has, but I've learned a lot from Ashley Molstad. That Ashley Molstad is one of the big people I mimic. That Ashley is 1,000% herself, and she does not care if you don't like her. If you don't like her, get off her page. She's not going to stop being who she is just because you don't like her. And that was but then she finds her tribe. Her tribe is her tribe. And that's where I'm I want that. I want my tribe to be my people. And so I'm going to show up as myself, and I'm going to make sure that I'm getting results, and I'm doing the vitals, and I'm growing in my, I'm going to whatever. And then things. Yeah. So yes, you're right. You can't compare, but you also have to look in the mirror to see, am I looking for an excuse, or am I looking for a way that oh, that's something I'm missing, I can fix that. There's a big difference between those two things.
Yeah. Cause as I mentioned earlier, I always have hit Success Club, but I struggled to build a team for many years, and I was always blaming it on, I just didn't get lucky. Like, why am I, like, my coach has these coaches that come to her, like, why don't I have, and then I said, no, I need to figure out how to build a team. And I had to change things. I had to like analyze, I had to figure it out. Like I don't know how long it took me to get to Diamond. A year and a half or 2 years of just waiting for it to happen to me. And I don't feel like I'm a fast success story at all. I'm like I am finally starting to, like, I was a Diamond coach a year ago and now I'm 5-star. So in a year I went from Diamond to 5-star. But it was all building under the surface for so long, you guys, like lots of work that was happening under the surface and lots of learning and so much personal development, so much. I listen to personal development hours a week. If you include that in my work time, then I add another 10 hours because I'm like listening to personal development all the time.
Oh, if we're adding in personal development, add 30 hours to what I said I'm doing. I do psychotic amounts of personal development. So yeah, Nicole, I freaking love you. Everything you said, all the yes, all the mic drops.
There's something to that though. You know, the very successful coaches do an insane amount of personal development. So everyone take note of that, myself included. All right, I want to appreciate your guys' time. Thank you so much for everything. I will get this recording up and to the leaders as soon as possible. I hope you guys have an amazing Merry Christmas. Have an amazing day. Get back.